Elk, I feel exhausted and drained after everything that was happening last week. Obviously, RBC Canadian Open, and we'll talk about the epic ending to the week for the PGA Tour. LIV Golf and their inaugural event at the Centurion Club in London. I think maybe we start there. And Charles Schwartzel taking home, what was it, $4.75 million.
I know it was. I watched the last 9 holes of that, the LIV event. Actually, I watched about the first 6 and then the last 4. And then I heard Charles' speech when they had the presentation. And he was nervous. He said, I think he was nervous about the money. He started choking basically at the end of the event. Diane, it's and then his team finished first, second, and third in their match to win an extra $750,000 on top of it. It's hard to differentiate the two right now. I mean, on one hand, the LIV golf scene has, starts on Thursday and finishes on Saturday. So it feels like it's not encroaching. It didn't encroach on what we saw on Sunday in Canada, the great finish we saw there. I'm not even sure if I'm going to answer your question. I'm not even sure if there's a question there, but do you want me to round up what I thought about LIV?
Yeah, let's start with that. I think that's important. Then we'll move on to what happened for the PGA Tour and what a fantastic victory they had in many ways on Sunday. But you and I talked about it after Thursday watching LIV Golf, and we both said that we thought overall it was a successful first day for them. We saw about 100,000 people that were streaming it on YouTube. Obviously, YouTube, Facebook, and their website, those were the ways to watch. It seemed very fast-paced and dynamic. I think as it went on, I got a little bit bored of the fact that the standard of golf wasn't great. It wasn't really too appealing for me to watch Charles Schwartzel win. But I don't know, what did you think as the final 2 days wrapped?
Well, I think the golf course was difficult. I mean, they were having a hard time on that golf course. It was hard. I mean, one of the holes they couldn't even reach into, par 4. But yeah, I mean, I think if they were playing a golf course where there was birdies everywhere, maybe it would be perceived slightly different, or the guys were playing good golf or whatever. I thought the production was very good for the first time event. I mean, I remember when we went overseas for the first time and played in the Johnny Walker Classics, where we went away from the US and did that. The production here was, camera angles were great. Shot tracer was great. Commentators were good. I had a couple of girl commentators that were following the last group. I thought they did an excellent job getting in position, talking about the shots. Looking at it from that perspective, I thought everything went really well for them. The presentation at the end where all they did was talk about the money is a little bit, we know it's a lot of money. It was a little tough to hear that because it was supposedly about a trophy. Diane, I don't think it's going anywhere. No. And to sort of summarize my thoughts now, I jump over to the Canadian and listen to Jay Monahan talking about the tour. And, the Canadian Open didn't have a very good field either. And, some of the players were talking about it had a feel of a major. Well, it wasn't a major. I mean, John Houston played in the Canadian Open this year. Just so happened the 3 best players playing last week finished in the last group on Sunday. Tony Finau, Justin Thomas, and Rory Mcilroy, who came on the champion on Sunday. I think the tour hasn't handled this very well. I'm hearing from sponsors that they're not that crazy about the tour banning all these players. And if there's 17 now and there's going to be maybe another dozen, let's say, tournaments around the country don't really want those guys finished. They don't want them suspended. I mean, everybody wants Dustin Johnson in their field, Bryson, Reed. And you can nitpick and say they don't like them or whatever, but they're the massive draws. Phil Mickelson, these guys, if they show up at the Houston Open, one of them, it's a big event, So I don't know what the answer is. I have no answer for you on what's going to happen, but I just sort of took it all in, Diane.
And it was confirmed since we last, did a show on it that Patrick Reed, Bryson DeChambeau, and Pat Perez, who's part of the secret golf team, have all gone over. And as you say, more names are expected. I think people probably want to, it's a major week, it's a big week. USGA are probably hoping that nobody announces that they're going to LIV this week. And I think they'll probably wait until next week and the major is out of the way. But I don't know. I feel like we covered everything last week, and then after watching it, and Jay Monahan was on the telecast with Jim Nantz on Sunday, and I actually, I was having a pregnancy nap at the time, so I missed it, but I came out and my phone had blown up, so I watched it back. I think Jay Monahan did a pretty good job of handling some tough questions that they're all still working out as well. I mean, this thing is evolving as more people join, so they're still working it out at the same time. And then, the human rights, the appalling human rights record of Saudi is coming up. 9/11 groups are reaching out to the players. That was brought up today in Phil's press conference at Brookline. This thing is just going to keep going. The golf's not going away, but the controversy is not going to go away either. And if you make a choice, there are consequences to the choices, and I think the guys are just going to have to keep dealing with that.
It's interesting that all the groups that are, sort of demonstrating this choice is they're taking it out so severely on each player, because the NBA, there's a lot of people that skate by on a lot of this criticism. I'm not saying they're not without criticism. I'm just saying very intense towards Phil Mickelson currently. Brutal press conference. I just caught up a little bit of it. Diane wanting to write letters to everyone in 9/11, et cetera. brutal questions.
Yeah.
On one hand, we have tour players like Rory Mcilroy and Justin Thomas saying that these guys, hey, if they want to go play, go play. On the other hand, now you got the commissioner like totally picking them out and just thrashing them, trying to just degrade their own players to try to get them to, I don't know what they're trying to get them to do, but they're really not happy with one another right now.
But the PGA Tour kind of won the week when Sunday couldn't have gone any better for them at the RBC Canadian Open. They had Rory Mcilroy, who is their number one guy that plays on the PGA Tour. He's on the player advisory committee. He's been very outspoken about his negative opinion of LIV Golf since the beginning, and he goes back to back at the Canadian Open. Not only that, as you said, Justin Thomas and Tony Finau in the mix until the very end. Finau made an amazing 46-foot putt on 18. And the fans were going wild. So it was a real celebration for everyone in Canada, for Rory, and I'm sure everyone at the PGA Tour was jumping for joy.
Well, it was all the same. The tour is the tour, and it's got the network coverage, and we all tune in on Sunday, and we have Jim Nantz and Faldo in the booth and the commissioner, and of course we have the best players leading the tournament that week, and all the controversy across the pond. And yeah, it was a great ending, but it's not done yet.
No.
I mean, LIV Golf is here, and they're going to play next event in Portland, not too far from now. And there's going to be some other giant names. Bryson DeChambeau, as much controversy or not has surrounded him, he's a massive name to go to LIV Golf. The people, I just think back a short time when he drove it across the lake at the 6th hole at Bay Hill, the most unthinkable thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
And then won the tournament the same day. There's never been a more unbelievable figure on the golf course, the way he pumped himself up and hits the ball. We're going to have to see.
It's funny you mentioned Bay Hill, because Bryson he's an exhibitionist. He's a real draw in that sense. And I was at Bay Hill, and my husband and I left the course to go to the driving range to watch him warm up, and there's hundreds and hundreds of people around him because you want to see what he can do. Obviously he's coming back from surgery and injury, but yeah, he's a draw. And also it's not going away, because there's going to be a legal backlash to this from both sides probably, but there's going to be a lot of talk. This thing is going to be making headlines for a long time to come.
Yeah, and the third piece of this wheel is the sponsors I spoke of, the tour sponsors that are already sponsor the PGA Tour. They're not crazy about 30 guys being wiped off the ledger, that they're not going to be able to play their events. I mean, if you're a Jim Crane here at the Houston Open, I saw Jim yesterday, he wants DJ, he's a friend of his, he wants Bryson, he wants all these guys playing the Houston Open. And now, you know, he's putting all his money up to sponsor the tournament. And now he doesn't even get access to these players. So it's going to be interesting if there's a lawsuit on that side too. And will it affect the money coming into the PGA Tour from the sponsors from that angle?
Yeah. Oh, man. It's just a lot to unpack constantly.